What is going on, you guys? I'm your host, Stacey Cole Morgan, and you are listening to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast here on Spotify, Google Podcasts, GoodPod HQ, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the Atlanta Falcons with my final predictions for this upcoming 2024-25 NFL season. What I think the Atlanta Falcons record will be, MVP for the Falcons, and so much more. So without any further delay, let's go to get straight into today's action.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Cole Morgan. Here on the Morgan Man Sports Podcast, we talk Atlanta Falcons news, pre-game predictions, and all other news surrounding the Atlanta Falcons.
Touchdown, Atlanta!
Also on the podcast, we talk Call of Duty League, esports, covering Roster Mania, major predictions, COD champs, player trades, and much more to get you ready for every single CDL weekend.
Scuff goes through, and Scuff says wins the one-on-one in optic with the reverse sweep.
If that sounds good with you, put on your Falcons jersey, grab your gaming headset, and let's get this show started. All right, guys, so we are talking about the Atlanta Falcons right now, and the preseason's over with. The Falcons went 0-3. I know it's terrible, but we went 0-3. We had a good showcase there for the first two games, but then just completely fell off in that third game against Jacksonville, going like 0-31, something like that. And of course, you know, everybody's making fun of the Falcons, but guys, sit back and look at it realistically. You know, the Jaguars, they started their first string offense and defense against the Atlanta Falcons, like second and third, possibly even fourth strings. And, you know, of course, Jacksonville's going to score points on them guys like very easily. And Raheem Morris, I don't know. Is it going to pay off for him holding out a Kirk Cousins, Bijan, Drake London, you know, whoever like that? I don't know. We'll find out in basically next week, pretty much, because that's when the NFL season starts next Thursday with the Ravens and Chiefs. But for the Falcons, it will be that Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern in the Benz against the Steelers. So let's talk about some predictions right here. So before I go in the overall record, I just want to say that for the MVP, I would have to sit here and really consider Bijan to become the MVP this season. I mean, if he has a breakout year like he did last year, but goes above and beyond what that was, I think Bijan Robinson could definitely become, you know, offensive player of the year or hell, even MVP of the league. I mean, my gosh. That would be such a great achievement, not only for Bijan, but, you know, for the Atlanta Falcons, because that would technically be like our first non-quarterback to ever win that right there. So, hey, I wouldn't be opposed of it. Now, talking about like offensive player of the year, dude, I would definitely have to say Drake London, maybe, because Drake London is supposed to make a huge step this season going forward under this new, you know, led offense and, you know, overall coach staff by Raheem Morris. So he's supposed to take a huge step, but also Kyle Pitts, you know, you can't forget about him. But I would think my pick would be Drake London, excuse me. But now, speaking of Kyle Pitts, I think comeback player of the year, and I really hate to say it for Kyle Pitts, but you know, Kyle Pitts has not shown his Florida Gator, you know, mentality in the Atlanta Falcons uniform yet. He just hasn't. And I think that Eric Robinson, our OC for the Atlanta Falcons, can bring that out. And if he does, this could be a breakout year for Kyle Pitts and become, you know, comeback player of the year. Just simply because has it been very productive? And now all of a sudden you change gears in Kyle Pitts' workout and routine and, route run and everything, and start scoring touchdowns left and right and get, 1,000+ yards at receiving. The dude's going to be unstoppable, and I think that would be enough, to have Comeback Player of the Year. For Defensive Player of the Year, guys, I would sit here and argue that Grady Jarrett, because now he's definitely got some freaking just dogs on that defensive line. I mean, my God, Grady Jarrett can finally get to the quarterback, sacks, forced fumbles, whatever the case may be, because Grady Jarrett, man, I'm telling you, he deserves it. He's practically the face of Atlanta for basically from now on to the next biggest Grady Jarrett. Whoever it is, they got some shoes to fill in that position right there. But man, I tell you, Grady Jarrett, I think this could be a year for him to honestly start, winning some one-on-ones, maybe one-on-twos, get to the quarterback and, start getting some sacks. And, which, yes, I understand he's in that, what would you call it? That leader role. I mean, he's still, of course, a player, but he's more in that leadership role now where he's teaching the young guys, all right, this is what you got to do to get past the OC or, the offensive line, etc., etc. But of course, he's still going to put up some great hits, some sacks here and there, and I'm telling you, it would definitely be a very well-deserved treat for Grady Jarrett to win Defensive Player of the Year. I would love that for Grady, and the city of Atlanta would definitely love for Grady as well. I'm not really going to sit here and say that I have an Rookie of the Year kind of award, because Michael Penix Jr., he's going to be benched. Yeah, he's QB2, but he's benched. He's going to be learning behind Kirk Cousins. The only way I could see Penix Jr. winning Rookie of the Year is if Kirk Cousins goes down, and then all of a sudden Penix Jr., boom, just picks it right up and starts throwing touchdowns just like freaking left and right and 400 or 500 yards per game, halfway through the season. I could sit here and legit say that would be enough to win Rookie of the Year. Knock on wood, that's an old saying, but knock on wood that Kirk Cousins does not go down, and he leads us at least to winning the NFC South in a deep playoff run. Super Bowl, of course, is always a thing where everybody says, yes, this is our year. This is the Super Bowl roster. Let's effing go. In a more realistic term, definitely win the South in at least a divisional round, exit, maybe conference round. I would like to see that for the Atlanta Falcons, led by Kirk Cousins, but if it's Michael Penix Jr. halfway through the season, hey, I'm not going to be mad, not one bit. So now, as far as the overall record goes, guys, I'm going to sit here and say that it's going to at least be I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say 15-2 because, you got the Cowboys coming up in I want to say early November. Then, of course, you got two tough opponents back to back, one of them being in Philly and then one being at home, but against the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's two very tough opponents right there to start off the season. And then kind of about halfway through the season, you got, of course, the Cowboys. But realistically, I could see potentially maybe if it's just those three losses against the Cowboys, Eagles, and Chiefs, I could sit here and say a 14-3 season. That would be my ceiling. But a realistic schedule breakdown and prediction, I would have to sit here and say at least 11-6. First place in the NFC South. You host a playoff game, probably against who would be that fifth seed. Gosh, maybe the Eagles, Cowboys, something like that. But who knows? But I'm going to sit here and say ceiling is 14-3. and floor is 11-6. I could comfortably sit here and say that because this roster is built to win now. And they got this window. It's wide open. They don't accomplish it this season. Okay, you make the tweaks that didn't work out from this season into next season, then that's your Super Bowl run. I have a good feeling about this roster. Again, as history has shown, there has been a lot of just, we falconed it up. So we'll have to wait and see. But I'm more confident than ever that Raheem Morris has definitely learned from past mistakes in his earlier coaching in Tampa Bay back in 2010, 2011, running there. Then, of course, learning that Sean McVay system, winning the Super Bowl right there. It is what it is, guys, but that is my honest predictions, the final honest predictions of the 2024-25 NFL season for the Atlanta Falcons. What is your predictions for the Atlanta Falcons, guys? Let me know on Twitter at MMS Stacey Morgan or in the comment section on Spotify. But guys, I sure hope you did enjoy, and if you did, make sure to like button wherever you are listening from, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. But until then, Cole Morgan, will catch you all later. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.